You're listening to
They're going to call it a hard foul. They're going to call it a hard foul.
All right, Mike, we are back. Celtics come back in game three, get the much needed win on the road against the Sixers to move the series to a 2-1 series lead after a very disappointing game two loss. There's a lot to talk about on this pod. We're Hot Foul. I'm Jim Quigley, always with my brother Michael. Michael, we are brought to you by the what?
Fan First Sports Network, bitch. And I got a message for Derrick White. It's a song that reminds me of his offensive game right now. I was bruised and battered. I couldn't tell what I felt. I was unrecognizable to myself. Saw my reflection in the window and didn't know my own face. Oh, brother, are you going to leave my basketball shot wasting away on the streets of Philadelphia?
Yeah, no, that's an issue. That's an issue. I think the Celtics have other issues too. One, I thought they did a little bit better job kind of hiding last night was their defense in the pick and roll and how they defended Maxey. And we can get into that a little bit. And obviously the center position, which I think is really just I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna do. I don't know how they're gonna get past this going forward, especially if Kata continues to play the way he has been, which has been less than satisfactory. But let's start with the positive. Last night, the Celtics,
How do you win?
go into the fourth quarter with a 5-point lead, give that up. It looked like all the momentum was heading back in Philadelphia's direction. Maxey was playing well. Obviously, you had Paul George was getting pretty much what he wanted. But I think between Tatum and Brown, in both a couple different spurts, and obviously the Payton Pritchard shot, those two guys, in particular, though, Brown and Tatum, and Brown on both ends of the floor, refused to let this team lose and were very, very clutch. And I think we haven't seen it often where both those guys have stepped up in the fourth quarter like we saw last night in Philly. And I think from just an encouraging standpoint, that's certainly a big time one.
Absolutely. Brown made a lot of, like you said, on both ends of the floor. I think some of his defensive plays were just really timely, causing turnovers. And the great thing for the Celtics is those turnovers led to points, which is like a double whammy in those moments in the playoffs. And for that game, the Celtics were getting killed on those turnovers, and Philly was doing a great job of turning those into points. And so in the fourth quarter, I thought Brown just had some real timely turnovers and some big shots. And obviously, Tatum with that dagger three, which was huge. But I do want to give Payton Pritchard some courage. I mean, I want to give him his flowers too, because
for sure you should.
He's a guy that I don't have a ton of trust in big moments against real competition, because I've known him in the past to like really play well against lesser teams, but not show up in these big moment playoff games. And I thought that three he hit last night was maybe the biggest shot of his career, even bigger than the threes he hit against Dallas in the finals, just because you're at risk of going down 2-1 and being on the road still. And that step back three he hit was a big shot. And prior to that, in the third quarter, I thought Pritchard kind of kept him in the game when the Celtics weren't playing well. And he hit some big threes. They only had a few. I think it was only like 4 or 5 field goals in the third quarter. They kind of stayed in the game because they had 9 free throw attempts, and I think 3 of those field goals were made by Pritchard. So
yeah, and one with about 40 seconds left in the third, 7 feet behind the line or so, where a shot it was a huge shot. They end up going up 5. The bench really played well. Like Pritchard, Shireman, Walsh, even though he didn't score, he was very, very good. And Vucevic, I know he's had his moments in the fourth, but I think on the whole played a pretty good game, better than you would expect from him. And
Offensively, he's been great in this series. I mean, he spreads the floor. He's making great decisions.
mhm.
In the fourth quarter last night, though, he kind of got James Harden in the game seven, like refusing to look at the rim. He got a little scared there, but he
I
was
thought that
spreading the
was
floor.
overblown by
He
the
was
announcers. I
he
thought that
was
was overblown.
that three for Tatum. It was a tough shot that Tatum hit, but he got it in rhythm because of how much room he had because Vooch was on the floor in that corner. Um, Defensively, I know we think the pick and roll improved some, but man, was it scary in that fourth quarter with him on the floor.
Yeah, no, they targeted him, and it's a problem with not Joe doesn't trust Nemi the way he's fouling and the way he's, sort of react against these pick and rolls, which is a problem because, Nemi was by far and away the best defender in the regular season. He had among the best plus minus in the entire NBA. And right now he can't stay on the floor. And I can't blame Joe for going with Vooch, especially last night, where I thought Vooch did a much better job where his drop wasn't so deep that, it was either a walk-in three or just, he comes up and he's going to blow by. He did a pretty good job of staying in between and making the Sixers
Yeah,
make
he
tough decisions.
did.
So like I thought he was more than adequate. And I got to tell you, just the way he was able to stretch the floor for the Celtics offense, part of the reason Derrick White was able to get that incredible offensive rebound that led to the dagger three from Tatum was um, Vucevic is
He's
out on the
dragging the center
perimeter,
out. Yeah,
dragging the center out. So it's like that there is pretty huge. I want to go over and you're 100% right about Pritchard. His play between especially at the end of the third quarter was just a huge pick me up on a quarter that really didn't go great, and somehow they led by 7
I
when they
know.
closed it. Um, let's
Crazy.
let's let's talk about the last 2.5 minutes. So Tatum misses a free throw, puts him up. They're only up
Crazy.
3. Had a chance to go up 4. Andre Drummond comes down. We're talking about this pick and roll. They target Vucevic. Easy two-handed dunk. It's a 1 point game, and at this point, because of the way they're targeting Vucevic in the pick and roll, all the momentum feels like it's with Philadelphia. And
And
Tatum,
especially with the like physical defense the refs were allowing them to play on the perimeter.
yeah, no, for sure. And the Celtics offense stays incredibly patient the next time down. They move the ball. They get the Tatum to the foul line extended 3, the above the break 3 point. He does a ball fake, man blows by.
Yeah.
He calmly sinks a
Mm-hmm.
3, puts him up 4, which was huge. And so Paul
Love it.
George then immediately comes down, and I actually thought this was pretty good defense. The announcers were saying, "Oh, we're being targeted again," but he kind of falls off to his right. Brown is right on top of him. Vucevic takes off the passing lane, and George banks in a 2-pointer. Hey, like you tip your cap to Paul George. That was an incredibly tough shot, and this is a shot you're talking about. This was not a great offensive set. The offense is breaking down. 2 converge on Tatum. Tatum gets it over to Pritchard. Um, he hits just a
Oh,
huge 3 with defenders coming down on him. He had a little bit of rum. And again, all of a sudden, instead of it was a 2 point game, we moved to 5. So every time down the stretch where it looks like Philadelphia's stealing momentum, they come back and they're right back in this game. Couple free throws from Oubre. We're down to, 40 seconds to go. Vucevic, you know, Bona comes out and Tatum. Tatum drags the coverage, makes the right read to Vucevic. He misses the corner 3. And again,
but
he's extended. This is where White, just a man's rebound, just rises above everybody. And then Tatum gets Bona in space and hits just an incredibly clutch, dagger 3 that ends the game. I mean, that last, you know, 3 possessions of that game, offensive possessions for that game, the Celtics, were nails. Um, two two of the threes were open in Tatum's and Pritchard's. But Pritchard's was kind of late clock, which he's excellent at. And then the third, you would say it's not open, but it's also, I think it's when Tatum's most comfortable, when a big's out on him. And so they got what they wanted, and their offense, was pretty good. And I'd say this too. It didn't feel like, except for that one possession with Pritchard, where they were just kind of slow to get into things. They were moving the ball and looking for good opportunities, and they ended up getting it. And I'll give Brown credit too. He's actually the guy that got the ball off the Derrick White pass. He immediately recognized who was on Tatum and didn't wait. He just gave the ball to Tatum and kind of gave him a look like, go. And for a guy that's been the 1A all season, that's recognizing matchups and what's best for your team, and he deserves, I think, huge credit there to recognize that as well. So just clutch offense, incredibly good clutch shooting, and as you mentioned, a gritty win. But it wasn't all good, Mike. Last night was not all good, and I think there's a lot to kind of look at in this game and talk about what might concern us going forward, and especially with these last two games. And if these are, red alarm situations, or these things that we think they can cover up and kind of fix. So you mentioned Derrick White shooting. Let's start right there. Go ahead. Oh, whatever you wanted to say.
Yeah, the entire series, I feel like this isn't the Celtics team I've been watching for the last 2 months. I even thought in game one, they gave up a ton of open looks to Philly, and Philly just didn't make them. And I think maybe that was part of the game plan, but I thought the defensive rebounding was suspect in game one. I thought kind of the defense at the rim wasn't that great. I thought Philly was missing a lot of layups. So I had that concern going into game two, and that kind of bit them in the ass a little bit in game two. Philly started to make their open threes. So, yeah, I mean, I think this Celtics team can be much better than what they're playing. But the Derrick White shooting, this isn't just this series now. He's been really bad on the offensive end, shooting-wise, for close to a month now. I want to say for like the last now 13 games. Going into this, the last 10 games of the regular season was pretty bad, and now we have this. I'm really surprised. I have to be honest. I mean, this is a guy who's always found a way to get points. He's still making plays, which is great. He had 3 blocks last night, and I was sending text messages to you that they don't pay him to be Marcus Smart. And in ways, I was giving him credit because he was making the big plays at the end of the game, those rebounds and those block shots that he had. But they're not paying him to be Marcus Smart. They're not paying him to make that hustle play at the end of the game. They need his scoring to win the championship. And I think right now, like you talk about my overall concerns is, are they good enough to win the Eastern Conference if he continues to shoot this way? Maybe, but they're definitely not good enough to win the NBA Finals without his offense. And so, to me, he needs to find it. He needs to be able to score. I think he was 1 for 8 last night from 3. And they're not really close. He just looks like he doesn't have confidence, which to me is just weird. I wonder if he's hurt.
Yeah, and they're not really contested shots either. The Celtics, they're overloading on Tatum and Brown big time, and they're allowing the other guys to make shots. That's why like Pritchard and Shyman making theirs and Hauser making theirs last night was huge. Those guys are going to get looks. The Sixers are willing. It's an interesting strategy from the Sixers. They're willing to give up that 3, and they're looking to take away the paint in the pick and roll against like Cater and keeping Tatum and Brown out of the paint. It's what they gave up a ton of in game one and what they've taken away since, to their credit. But White, yeah, no, it's an issue, and it's just kind of jarring to see because he's been nothing but a big shot maker for this team, really, since he's been here. You go back to the championship run and the 3 in the corner against Indiana. He's had moments at every playoffs he's been here where he's been so red hot that he's been the go-to guy. He's had slumps for sure, but no, you hope it gets going. No, this feels like he's thinking about it.
He missed the layup last night in the fourth quarter.
It was a contested layup. That was a tougher shot,
But he makes those. Like he's just clutch. You know
I
what I
wonder
mean?
if
Like
they try to get him some floaters going, which is a comfortable part of his game that they haven't really gone to since Tatum and Brown has come back. The shooting's got him worse since Tatum's come back. I don't know, like if his role,
it's weird.
yeah, but he's the struggle's real, and I can't explain it. I don't. I think I understand what you're saying with Marcus Smart. He's also not the guy that's gonna hold the ball for 15 seconds with 18 seconds left. Like
No,
if Marcus Smart was
my
in the
Marcus
game,
Smart comparison was my Marcus Smart comparison was like that would be the guy that I would leave open if I was an
yeah.
opponent back then. And for some reason, Milwaukee chose Grant Williams, but
Oh
and
yeah, no, I
Marcus would
understand it.
find a
Yeah.
way. Marcus would still make plays. He'd make a lot of winning plays, and people would pick those things like, well, he made that offensive rebound, and he blocked that shot, and he stole that ball. I want to give Derek credit for those things, but they need Derrick White to be Derrick White.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just gonna say he's not
Yeah,
Marcus Smart in the sense where he thinks he's as good as Tatum and Brown and throws up the hero
no.
shot.
Yeah.
uh but no, I still trust him. I'm not going to lose faith. I think there's going to be a game where he gets going. I think it's probably going to come sooner than later. And I think this isn't a situation where you can afford to say, okay, we can't play Derek White because
Oh,
you're not winning. You're not winning without him. It's that simple. And you could see it with his defense last night. I thought Walsh did the best job on Maxey, but White was actually very, very
good
good.
in the fourth
It
quarter.
wasn't a huge drop off. He had some real big moments throughout that whole game, and it shows how good Maxey is because Maxey was still a stud. But I thought the Celtics did a really good job on him overall. I think that's a problem that there's nothing Joe can do other than continue to stick him out there. It's not like White's forcing bad shots. He's just got to make these. Like I don't know how much maybe other than trying to get him some easy ones, some
Well,
floaters,
that's what I was
things
going
like
to
that.
say.
Yeah.
I wonder in the first quarter if rather than going to Tatum with Kada, they can do a couple of the high screen and rolls with White and Kada and have Tatum off the ball in the corner, where Tatum
Hmm.
has shown you he can be effective from there as an offensive rebounder, facilitator, and a shooter. And maybe you give White some of that room, and if he gets going early. I mean, obviously, don't fix it if it's not working, but I might run one or two of those sets to get him going. Um, certainly Cade has been really horrendous defensively, but there's been moments, especially in the beginning of games, where Philly has not responded well to that screen and roll with Cade getting open right next to the rim. So
They've done a much better job on it the last two games. Yeah, but there's things you can do to get um, White going. There's definitely things you can do to get White going. And give Philly credit. Like they recognize his poor shooting.
oh.
They understand that you're not going to be able to stop everything within the Celtics offense, and so they said the role players are going to have to beat us. The role players did enough last night, and then handed the keys over to Tatum and Brown, and they made the plays in the fourth quarter. But um, Phillies obviously their mentality is we're going to be physical, we're going to be chippy. With Tatum and Brown, we're going to take away the middle on the pick and roll, and those other guys are going to have to make shots, and they're getting open shots. There's no doubt about it. The Celtics are getting open looks,
Yeah, I get no-
um, and they're going to have to make them. Um,
it's
the other
almost like
concern,
Philly is forcing the Celtics to shoot like 53s a game. And for me going into this, like that's not the recipe to win. Like playing how they played all season is how you win. But Philly is doing such a good job of taking other things away. They're saying your role players have to hit threes against us in order for you to win, or you're going to have to force it against like three or four guys in the paint.
mhm.
And I know fans are getting frustrated. They're like, there's so much ISO with Brown and Tatum. There's things Joe could maybe do, maybe post some of these guys up. Maybe you post Tatum and Brown up around the free throw line a little bit more. But Philly's physical defense on the ball in games 2 and games 3 I'm really surprised by how good it is and how effective it is. I mean, they caused 16 turnovers last night against the number one
Yeah.
team in the NBA this season with not turning the ball over. Philly's been really good for the talent they have because they lack a lot of talent, and they're making this really, really tough on the Celtics.
Well, I do think there's been too much stickiness with Brown and Tatum, especially early in these games. They need to trust their teammates and they need to move the ball. Um, and if it ends up in a three from one of these role guys early in the game, you just got to kind of have to live with it. Maybe they can do some things where you get Tatum and Brown on the post after they release the ball. But if they're sticking, the one thing there's open shots in rhythm and then there's open shots late in the clock. And I thought in game two there was some open shots late in the clock because Tatum and Brown were going ice. So I thought for the majority of the games, they were pretty good at moving the ball last night, but it did stick and it stuck in that third quarter quite a bit. And I think that's what leads to those turnovers. Now, a lot of the Celtics, I don't know how many of them, but there were a lot of dead ball turnovers last night. There were a lot of offensive fouls. Yeah,
Poor fucking passing.
Yeah, and there were some runouts, but there wasn't a huge amount of them. So the dead ball turnovers, I mean that they suck, but they're not the end of the world. They're almost better than missed shots sometimes, because there is no fast break off them. And it's a weird thing that last night how close they were calling offensive fouls when I didn't feel like they were really calling defensive fouls. If you're going to allow a guy to get in someone's space, you should allow the offensive player to push off. That's just my belief. You shouldn't just have physicality one way. And the point of emphasis for these officials last night was obviously screens on both sides, which, I don't really have a problem with as long as they're calling on both sides, which they were. So, like, the turnovers, but there's been enough. You don't want this team gaining confidence. One way Maxey and Edgecombe get going with their athleticism, get out on break. So you need to protect the ball. You need to be strong with the ball. And there's been enough instances in this series, especially over the last two games, where the Celtics have not done that.
No, they really haven't. And so I feel like my concern all season was how are they going to respond to physicality? And by the end of the season, I had no concerns about that. I felt like this team had a different DNA. My confidence has been a little shaken in this series. I'm not impressed with this 2-1 series lead by Boston. I'm glad they're up 2-1. But I don't think their offense has flowed really efficiently since game one. The second half of game two is just abysmal. That fourth quarter of game two in particular, they go on their 8-0, 9-0 run to tie the game or to cut it to two. I forget one or the other. Tatum has the ball. Nobody in the paint on Philly. There was nobody there. He's got a wing on him and an angle to the basket and just settles for a fucking three that just felt rushed and like all he had to do was go to the hoop. And then Philly goes on a 13-0 run after that because Boston just can't figure out how to play offense. I don't know. I'm glad last night that they were able to be efficient offensively at the end of the game. Because that was my concern is how are these guys going to respond here in this close game? And they obviously Tatum hit some huge shots. But do you think he's settling a little too much in this series with the 3-point shot? Like early in the shot clock, he's had some. I think last night was definitely better than game two. But I really think like the beginning of game one, he started the game 4 for 5, and they were all shots inside the 3-point line. And I really thought he caught a rhythm from it. I think he was dominating, just pull up jump shots, getting into the paint. Obviously, Philly adjusted their defense in game two, but he's such an effective player going to the basket, and I don't think he's effective in the playoffs when he's shooting more than like 5 threes in a game. I don't think he's a good to elite 3-point shooter. I think he's an okay 3-point shooter, and I think he's an elite scorer going to the basket. And I really think he's going to change that up in his game. I think he's shooting too many threes. Quite
Yeah, so
honest.
if you remember game one, and Brown missed a lot of open layups, especially
He
early
did
in
in
that
game
game.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, getting to the paint was not a problem. The Philly was not doing anything to take away the screen and roll. They weren't doing anything to take away the paint. I think it's getting shots around the paint right now is very hard, and they're going to be very much contested shots. I think what the Celtics need to do is get these guys more in that mid-range area, which I know is not considered a great shot, but they've every game they've found opportunities with both Brown and Tatum to get either a smaller guy like Maxey or Grimes in that area. And I gotta say, both are probably shooting like over 60%. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it feels that way. I think there's opportunities to get those guys one-on-one on the posts and get them looks. And the worst case is Philly's going to have to draw two to that, and then the other guys will be open. So I would like to see some more of that. I thought Tatum's threes last night were, especially in the fourth, were much more in rhythm than they have been in other games. The game three was he played hero ball. There was no doubt about it down the
I
end
mean,
of
game
that
two.
game. Game two, yeah, and I thought really hurt them. I thought last night, he was clearly looking to be the distributor in that fourth quarter. There's that pass to Vucevic in the corner, the pass to, he drew two and got the ball over to Tatum for that huge, to Pritchard for that huge three. So, but
Bucket.
yeah, so he needs to, I think they got to do things, but as far as like getting them layups against this Phillies defense, like I think that's the area you have to like tip the cap to Philly. Philly's done a great job of just not giving it to the Celtics. So the Celtics need to find different offense.
Yeah,
It
you're right
doesn't have
about
to be the three. It doesn't have to be the three.
you're right about the mid-range game, Kim. I mean, in the regular season, the analytics are going to get you to this point, shoot more threes. In the postseason, a good mid-range game is going to win you championships. It is because the defense on the 3-point perimeter game is going to be so much better by your opponents. It just happens every postseason where just the defense around that is just so much more emphasized, and they take that away. And teams that have guys like Kalen Brown in particular that dominate the mid-range game, they win championships. And I think Tatum's a championship player, and Joe and the team going to talk to him. I would love to see the mid-range game be the majority of his offense because I think he would dominate it. He's got the height to shoot over guys. He's good at the turnaround jumper from the post. He's efficient with all these jump shots, free throw line extended. I don't understand why they don't emphasize this as part of the offense more because Tatum's going to be a 60 to 70% shooter most nights against these smaller wings. They're shooting over the top of them, similar to what Porzingis used to bring to the offense. Um, and you talk about the physicality when you post up and when you do that mid-range offense, you're going to get to the free throw line more because the refs are going to call more fouls inside the 3-point line than they are with somebody up in your chest, pushing you and going after the ball and slapping your wrists beyond the 3-point line. They let a lot of that stuff go. But once you get inside, they call a lot of fouls. And obviously, if Tatum got to the free throw line more too, it's going to be easy points. Especially in this Philly series. If they're going to take away the layups and they're going to give you that, let Tatum shoot you to the next series. Let him put up 10 mid-range shots a game. He's going to hit the majority of them.
Yeah, the other thing is too is like the Celtics would get back to our point we made just a second. They're just going to be strong with the ball. Like when I look back at those two turnovers in the fourth, the White turnover where Tatum did have Edgecombe at the foul line, and I thought White rushed the pass and turned the ball over. Like that could have resulted in either, Tatum getting to the line or fighting the open guy. And then obviously they run the pick and roll with Vucevic. White makes the proper cut to draw his man under the basket. Pritchard is wide open in the corner, and I don't know what Vucevic was thinking to pass that ball to White, but it was two straight empty possessions with live ball turnovers where they had a chance to. They had Philly in the exact spot they wanted them in on offense, and they were just careless late in that game with the ball. Those two guys, which led to points for Philly on the other end. So it's like I would say like they know what they want to do, and Much more so than game two, where I thought it was a lot of stickiness and settling late. I don't care about how many open threes they were, they weren't. There's different levels to open threes.
Yeah.
There's late in the clock, there's more rhythm in the offense. I didn't feel like that was rhythm in the offense in game two, in the second half in particular. Um, this was, more about execution at times. I thought in game three, where the offense, the plan seems fine to how they want to attack this. The plan seems fine. They just need to execute it more consistently. Defensively, Mike, I think this is the biggest concern. And so game two is obviously the pick and roll defense. They were letting Maxey and Edgecombe just kind of do these walk-in threes, step-in threes when no one covered them. The drop was huge. When they did come up from the drop, Maxey would just blow right by Cater or Vucevic or Gaza or whoever was in the game. Like they weren't even there because he's just so athletic. And last night they made a really nice adjustment where you would have the big hedge, um, either White or Walsh fight like hell to get over that screen or under that screen. And then you would have your wing defenders, and I would really, they would start inching to the paint and then sprint like hell to get back out on shooters if Maxey gave it up. And that's where you saw the Brown play. Brown started helping, hedging towards Maxey. Maxey made the pass out to Edwards. Brown blocked the three just with a great hustle block play. So they made a real nice adjustment to do their best to take away that just kind of walk in three and also not give up the layup at the paint. And you saw a lot of Maxey getting to the paint and trying to slow down, draw the foul, and the Celtics big guards, either White or Walsh, recovered more than once to be the block his shot or bother his shot and keep the centers out of goofy situations. That said, the center position right now has been just the biggest problem on the floor. Whether it's been Gaza or Vucevic or Kata. And to me, it's the Kata thing that's just been so alarming because he's been so good all year long. I don't remember him being in foul trouble like this, and his fouls have been at times careless or just, putting his hands on people when he doesn't need to. And and obviously Philly's looking to take him out of the offense, with the screen and roll as much as they can. So that kind of hurts his ability down the other end where he's not a shooter. But if he can't give them anything defensively, if he can't even manage the game plan that they had last night, I think Joe's making the right decision not playing him late in the fourth quarter. Because, what is he going to do? Just put Philadelphia to the line and then he's not giving you anything on offense? It's a really tough spot. And, as good as Gaza has been throughout the regular season, defensively, he's worse than Vucevic. And you can just see it when they're just going, he doesn't know how to drop yet. And so they're in a really, really tough spot. I thought we'd see with Boner on the floor, the Celtics going small, maybe put Walsh in and Tatum at the 5. They haven't done that yet. And I think we saw why late in the game because of what Vucevic can do for the offense on the other side of the floor. And I think since the offense was working, I don't think Joe was in a panic to make a defensive move, which I get, points are a premium late in the game. But it's tough to watch, and they are not in a good spot, and I am concerned right now. If I have a number one concern, it's not Derrick White shooting, it's the center position, because Derrick White shooting, all you can do is throw him out there, and he has to make them. This feels like being exposed. This just feels like being exposed as a huge weakness, and it's just going to get harder as these playoffs go on.
Yeah, I mean, you saw it in the fourth quarter against the Knicks that Kata just could not cover the pick and roll, and I was like, "Is that a one-off?" He's been good all season, but the Knicks just went after him over and over and over again. And me and you were like, "Well, maybe that was part of the game plan." Like the Celtics weren't really doing anything to respond against it; they were kind of just dropping. And And then we have game 2 against Philly, and it's just walk in 3 after walk in 3 after walk in 3. I mean, this was preseason type of defense where they were just walking into the 3, and it wasn't really contested. And I mean, it was, to me, it was like, what the fuck is going on? This is the worst I've seen the Celtics play all season. And I thought last night I couldn't really get a read on how Cade's defense was because, again, he was consistently in foul trouble and making stupid decisions. Um, they I think it's a Derrick White situation, Jimmy, where they got to keep putting Cater out there to stop these games and hope he figures it out, because what do they have? It worked out last night. Good job for Joe keeping Vooch in the game. The offense it made a big difference. But there's going to be times where Vooch is not helping on the offensive end because he's not a superstar. And I would think we're going to see Tatum at the 5 and a guy like Walsh or Shireman and whoever Joe wants to go with. In that moment, maybe it's Shireman to have more offense, whatever. That's what they're going to do and go small in the series. That's their major concern. The Derrick White concern for me is also major because Tatum and Brown are both playing way too many minutes. I think they each played 42 minutes last night. I don't know how sustainable that is for this run. And part of the reason Derrick White's so important to this team is that they can be on the bench and he is anchoring the offense for 2-3 minute spell where you're running the offense through him. Tatum and Brown will always be on the floor. One of them will always be on the floor, but I think last night they both had to play every minute of the fourth quarter. And great, they were awesome. But if Derrick White is Derrick White, Tatum gets 2 minutes at the beginning of the quarter, or Brown gets a minute in the middle of the quarter, whatever the fuck it is. So to me, just like the sustainability of especially Tatum coming off that injury and knowing that Brown got hurt in the playoffs last year and what that did to you, prior to the playoffs. So yeah, I mean, health is definitely a factor, and you don't want these guys being overextended because your third scorer just isn't showing up. One thing I want to highlight, James Shireman's been playing great, and
Yeah, can I
it's just a
stay
way.
just on the guys just stay on the Cater stuff because and we'll get to Shine in just 1 sec. Just to your point, he's got to be better, and I think they can still run offense. Obviously he's more of a role guy and a dunker and a screener, but he is strong too, and it's opening up guys offensively. He needs to not foul. He needs to play within the game plan of being able to hedge hard and recover, and stay on his feet. And he can't let the bitchiness of Philadelphia get into his head, which I thought a little bit happened last night. He needs to just be so much better. Like right now, he's been the biggest disappointment for me on the Celtics team in these playoffs. The biggest disappointment. To the minutes thing, was Brown. It never really seemed to bother him. I would be concerned about injuries with him. Tatum looks fresh as lettuce. He hasn't played a lot of minutes all year, and he doesn't seem gassed at all. So, I don't know if 40 plus is going to bother him. This isn't, he hasn't played a lot of basketball this year. He looks fine. I guess is the way I put that. But yeah, go to Shyman because he was great on both ends. Great on both ends last night.
I think Joe's going to figure out a way to play him more. And it's tough because when Hauser's hitting shots, the Celtics are like impossible to play defense against. But kind of read the game a little bit better because Hauser the last 2 games either isn't taking them or he's not making them consistently. And then on the defensive end, Philly is hunting him a little bit. And unfortunately, successfully, where in the past teams aren't typically successful against Hauser when they're hunting him. Hauser kind of usually steps up in those moments. And Shireman's been red hot from 3 for a long time now. He's been your best offensive rebounder for a long time now, and he is adequate defensively.
He's been better than adequate.
I think
he
you got to figure out a way to
George
play
last night. Yeah, he's not losing minutes to Hauser. Hauser only played I think 18 minutes last night. There's 5 guys that played over 30 minutes. It was Vucevic, Pritchard, White, Brown, and Tatum. And so where those minutes come from out of those 5 guys, I think especially for Jordan Walsh and Shireman, to see more minutes for them on the floor is going to be interesting. I would have said, maybe White and Pritchard, you find minutes for them at the end of the game, for Shireman and Walsh, and then they both had huge plays. So where it's going to come from is going to be interesting. But I think those two guys in particular have shown that the moment is not too big for them at all. They've been really
No,
good.
no,
Shireman's defense on George last night was really, really solid.
it really
Really
was.
solid.
So we got game 4 Sunday.
Can I talk about
Excited for that.
one quick thing about last night, Mike? I want to get your thoughts. What was your thoughts on the guys calling the game?
Yeah.
What
Oh
were your
God,
thoughts on Amazon and the two guys calling the game?
they're fucking terrible. And then Amazon sucks. I mean, I was trying to watch the Portland and San Antonio game, and Amazon, the game froze like 3 times, and it wasn't my internet. It was just Amazon. They were terrible. They were terrible.
It felt like a Philly
They
home
reminded
game,
me of
right?
like
Yeah.
that, and they reminded me of the like announces during the movie Dodgeball.
It was awful. Like a
Yeah.
high pitched voice. And like they were so excited anytime Philly did anything well, to the point where it was like, for a Celtics fan, it was terrible to listen to. I hated the production. I hated the commentators. I had to shut the volume down. I thought it was so bad.
Oh,
Which is too bad, because the fun thing about the
yeah, my
playoffs
buddy.
is like the crowd like Philly, but that was awful, awful to listen
Yeah,
to.
my buddy Gary was texting me last night. He's like, "What the fuck is wrong with these guys? Are they retarded?" And there was a play in the fourth quarter, a big play, a foul on Vooch, and there was a timeout, and I'm like, "Did the Celtics challenge?" And they didn't even tell us that. They didn't even tell us until like Philly was back on the floor shooting free throws. They're like, "Oh, by the way, it looks like Joe challenged this." So it's like, you're sitting in the arena. What do you mean? There's a green light that fucking flickers right in front of you. You don't know? You don't
It,
know? How
they
do you not
didn't.
know?
Well, just even like a timeout was called with 53 seconds left while guys at the free throw line. It has to be a challenge. Have you ever seen a coach
Yeah.
call a timeout in that spot in the NBA before? Ever? Like, I don't think that's
I'm
ever
just gonna
happened
waste
unless
one of
it's
my 2 timeouts.
yeah. No, that was bad. The whole even like Vooch won't even look. There was like 19 in the shot clock when he was yelling, Vooch won't even look at the hoop. And this was when the Celtics got hoops all down the stretch. And I'm just, yeah, what you want him to shoot with 19 on the shot clock when you have Tatum and Brown in the game right now? Like, you want him to just fire a
I,
Marcus Smart shot with a Daniel Tice with 19 on the shot clock? Like, I'd lose my mind if he did that.
this was like when Abby Chin and like all those random girls call Celtics game together. The game ends. This was the best comment. The Celtics win by 6, and the
No, this
guy's
was
like, the
worse. At
Celtics were up
least
by.
they were composed. The women were composed. I didn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't my favorite thing at all. But this was like a cup. The play-by-play guy is a lunatic, an absolute lunatic.
The Celtics win by 6, right? And the guy's like, "Wow, the Celtics were up by 5 going into the fourth quarter, and they just dominated and extended that lead." And that was like his last comment he made about the game. And I was like, "Did you fucking watch the game? Like,
I
dominated and
know.
extended the lead? They won by 6, you fucking idiot."
I know. I know. And it was grinded
My
out.
last comment before I get up. Yeah, it was a grind it out. My last thing, Jim, Ime Adoka, man, what a disaster in Houston. You're up by 6. It's just funny how in the playoffs everything gets exposed. Everything gets exposed. Whatever you're not good at, you can't hide it. Obviously, Houston doesn't have a point guard. And
Don't
those
have
2
a
turnovers,
playmaker
the
either.
one.
You know.
Yeah. Marcus Smart gets the 3 free throw shots off the steal. And then LeBron, 41 years old, fucking decides, okay, this kid can't bring the ball up. I'm just going to go steal it from him. And then hits a fucking 3. What
Yeah.
is going on? Like, is LA good or do the Rockets just suck? Jim, what's going on?
LA will be good once the two guys come back. Right now, it's you. This is a play-in tournament, like playoff series, and Lakers have the best player. Like or they have a guy that's a playmaker. Maybe Segun would be the first guy you pick, but they don't. The rest of the guys can't do anything off the dribble or create their own shot. You don't want your center to be the only one. So like, it's been enjoyable to watch because it's like fascinating plays. I mean, Marcus Smart was awesome last night and everywhere. And LeBron, just huge.
He's been really good in the
That
series.
was really cool.
LeBron threw an alley-oop to his son.
I thought
I
that
was
was
like, why is his
awesome.
son out there? He's not good. Yeah, and then
He's
he
been playing
scores.
Bronny's been playing well. Like you gotta like tip your cap to the kid. He's an NBA player. He has shown that he's an
Yeah.
NBA player, which I never thought he was going to be. So good for him. I think I love stuff like that where guys show that there's something that they're not. So good for him. Um, I right now it's two playing teams, but if Lakers get past the series, Luka's coming back, and
What about Austin Reed? Is he done for the
I don't
season?
know.
Or
I
Reeves?
don't know. That's oblique's tough, man. Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
tough thing to come back. That's your core. That's hard. But Luka's coming back, and so you're inserting a 30-point a game scorer into this offense, and I don't think they beat the Spurs,
There's so
but
much more.
they'll be tough. They'll be
It's
tough.
so much more enjoyable to watch without Luka. But like, I don't want to be the guy who's like LeBron's awesome, but man,
I think
he's
their offense
pretty
is
awesome.
better.
I gotta be honest.
I think their offense is better when the three of them are not playing together. When it's just either Luka or LeBron. By the way, like I think Austin
Mhm.
Reeves, he's not really fit for that third man role, be a spot up shooter type thing. So I think their offense will be better with just the two of them.
Yeah, you're probably right in Kennard, and I'm not a Laker fan, but I am watching. I am enjoying watching these games, and um, yeah, and Drew Holiday, man, another one, an ageless wonder. Just like I love it. I love that he's playing well. So, anyways, Jim, Sunday another game.
Yeah, who won that game last night? I went to it, so Spurs did win. Okay. Yeah,
Yeah, Spurs
Sunday,
did win, but Holiday played well.
Sunday, another game. Hopefully, it's a 3-1. I kind of expect Joel Embiid to be out there, but we'll see. In some ways, I wonder if that's helpful for the Celtics if Embiid goes out there, but we'll see. I wonder if
You
Philly
think he's
runs
gonna be
less.
out there?
I think he might be. And does that take the ball out of Maxi's hands? And Embiid historically has not wanted to run pick and roll. So how does that change the way the Celtics can play defense? They like to play him one-on-one. They like to give away that foul line jump shot. And they don't mind the ball sticking with him and trying to run him off the floor. So it'll be interesting. I mean, if Embiid decides he's going to be a pick and roll player, oh my God. Like, I don't know how the Celtics stop that. But I have never seen that throughout his career at times when it was the most obvious thing in the world too.
Yeah, I'd be a little concerned if he wants to play the right way. I think he's definitely handed the keys over to Maxey this year. So I don't know. Well, wow. Well, that's definitely a nugget. If he plays things, that makes things a little different. So we'll see Sunday. Enjoy the game,
Yeah.
everybody.
All right, see ya.
See you, Jim.
Chloe don't know better. Chloe's just like me, only beautiful. A couple of years different, but those lessons are never learned. And Chloe does the tables in the French Quarter. She's always been given, so can't always make her laugh. But I'm proud to say, and I won't forget. Time
They're going to call it a half foul as part of the Fan First Sports Network. All production is done in-house, part of Get the Hell Off My Yard Productions.